How's it going, everybody? Today we'll be going over a couple of Midnight Coup rolls. I have a few here, got more in the vault, and I've played around with a lot of rolls, but I think I've whittled it down to just pretty much these ones that I think I like the most. Now, originally, this was my main god roll. Main reason being is that my Fatebringer has both Firefly and Frenzy, and I would find myself constantly flipping back and forth between these two. So I thought, why not? Since I'm able to roll both perks on one weapon, that would be the roll to go for. To my own comfort, I would say, I actually don't prefer this roll at all anymore. So out of all of these rolls of Firefly, Kinetic Tremors, and then Enlightened Action and Kinetic Tremors, I found that Explosive Payload and Kinetic Tremors, though as basic as it gets, is just the better roll. One, I'll start off with some basic knowledge. For those that don't know, Explosive Payload actually is technically a damage buff. What it does is it splits your single shot damage into two. One is the direct hit, the other is the explosion damage, but that explosion damage is up to 30%. So it halves your damage and then 30% increase boosted to one side only. So with Explosive Payload, you're already hitting harder per shot. Now with Kinetic Tremors, the main idea was that a hand cannon pretty much at base is able to 1 to 2 shot, 3 shot at most any red bar enemy. There's no way we're getting Kinetic Tremors to proc on the red bars, mainly because it takes 6 shots to proc Kinetic Tremors on a hand cannon. For those that are wondering, unfortunately, Explosive Payload does not synergize with Kinetic Tremors, so it doesn't like count for 2 hits per 1 shot. So as much as we would have liked 3 shots to proc Kinetic Tremors, unfortunately it does not work that way, but I still think it's worth going for this roll, mainly because Kinetic Tremors is going to be for your yellow bars and above. For any yellow bar that is able to withstand 6 shots from a hand cannon and still be standing, Kinetic Tremors will 100% take the rest of them out. But not all yellow bars are made the same. Some are just way beefier, meaning that even after the 6 shots and Kinetic Tremors going off, they're still standing, but I promise you that they will be extremely weak and you can take them out pretty easily with anything, like an additional shot from your Midnight Coup. It's highly unfortunate that the current meta is kind of primary exotic base. You just produce more heavy, they hit 40% harder on red bars to begin with, plus they have perks that are just awesome to have, like Sunshot and Chain Explosions, or Graviton Lance with pretty much the same thing but colored purple. To go back to Midnight Coup though, to say that it's the best in slot, yes, it technically is. If we're minimizing the slot to hand cannons that are legendary, absolutely. Fatebringer used to be the former king, but Midnight Coup, I would actually say, does take the cake. But does that warrant you enough to want to use this over other things? Your Mountaintop does go in this slot as well. Your Heritage goes in this slot. Your Succession goes in this slot. Yes, they're all primaries, but for some of the creators out there that I see that are claiming that this is a best in slot, you have to understand that other weapons go in that slot. You know, Wither Horde technically fights for the slot as well. To go into just one other perk that I've heard around the community was Enlightened Action. Personally, I don't really feel it on this hand cannon at all. Its handling, as you can see from the stat being 70, it's already extremely high. Its reload is relatively high for a hand cannon, and it can always get higher with like a reloader, of course. But when it comes to the reload specifically on Midnight Coup with Enlightened Action, it's like such a slight difference. You can kind of notice it if you're looking for it, but if you're, in the heat of battle, you're probably not going to notice it at all. The aim ready speed is actually night and day, but in PvE, I don't really think that is much needed at all. A Firefly, I wanted it so badly. It's great for ad clear. With one singular shot, you can kill so many red bars. The idea on paper is nice, but when I got the roll that I really wanted, it's either Firefly Frenzy or Firefly Kinetic. I found that I don't really care for it that much now that I have it. Maybe it was rose-colored glasses, but honestly, I think Explosive Payload in the end of the day is just the better perk to go with. And Kinetic Tremors to just help you out if you're trying to primary DPS a yellow bar, it's definitely a pretty good option to have. I know a lot of us, especially me, will see a yellow bar and I'm already popping out my special weapon, but Midnight Coup can hold its own relatively well against beefier enemies. There's not a lot on this weapon that wows me too much, unfortunately. I know this one was a very hyped weapon to come back, and it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it might just be the fact that it's a kinetic weapon, and there's not a lot of stuff on a kinetic weapon that wows us. You know, like Volt Shot, Incandescent, destabilizing rounds on other weapons that actually have elements to them. Midnight Coup with Kinetic Tremors is awesome, and I like the concept on paper that kinetic weapons will have, you know, their own little verbiage stuff type perks. But I think we're at the point where we need more than just Kinetic Tremors, specifically just for kinetic weapons, of course. That's all I really had to say. In the end of the day, it's just a hand cannon, legendary. It will get the job done in terms of a primary weapon. So I will give you guys a little bit more of your time back. Take care, peace, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Bye.